Well, welcome to this May 1st meeting of the Tree Advisory Commission. Welcome and introductions. Tony, would you start?
Tony Gugesberg, River Creek Nursery Advisor.
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department Advisor.
Floyd Alwyn, just retired.
Heather Hammer, Chair of the Tree Advisory Commission.
Scott Sperlin, New Ulm, Minnesota.
Wayne Shopper, New Ulm, Minnesota.
William Swanson, NUPUC Advisor.
Craig Curry, Street Department Advisor.
Steve Kaler, City Engineer Advisory Member.
Thank you, everybody. Before we approve the agenda, Tony, I think you want to add something to new business?
Yeah, just
Boulevard
discussion on boulevard trees.
Boulevard tree discussion. Anybody else? And if I could get a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
It's, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If you all had a chance to look at the minutes from the March 6th meeting, we can go ahead and, if anybody has anything to add or change to that, I'd entertain a motion to approve them.
I'd so move.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We can go right into old business. The tree reimbursement program update by Mr. Kaler.
Thank you, Chair Hacker. I think it's in the computer, Tom?
Yes, it's under the subdirectory of budgets, 2014, with date of the 29th.
Yeah, so basically, we had no activity up to this point, so it's the same report as the last meeting, way down toward the bottom. We've got how the budget is broken down, and there was a carryover from last year's budget, so you have a total of a little over 13,000 in the budget for this year. So we haven't gotten any tree requests that I know of yet, but they'll be coming shortly.
Hopefully.
Quits raining, Tony will be busy.
Okay. And that was the budget update as well, right?
Correct.
Both? Okay.
The only thing I may add to that, Madam Chair, is of that 13,150, there was a recommendation from this group late last year to spend $6,100 on tree plantings, and Mr. Schmitz might be able to update us on the status of that. So technically, that should be $6,100 less if you want to move ahead with that tree plantings.
Yes, Madam Chair and members, I have a little more information to add to that report from Engineer Kaler. That is correct. There's $6,100 that the commission dedicated for tree plantings in park areas and boulevard areas. And there's a plan to conduct that this year, complete that in 2014. So there's that $6,100 will need to be, we'll denote that in more detail at the next report. I also have little information on the home show and the utility stuffer mailing. My understanding at the home show is that we had a $280 booth rental, so we'll be putting that into the next budget report. I'm not aware of any significant printing costs for the home show, but there is a printing cost for the utility bill stuffer in the vicinity of, I think it's $700 to $800. I don't have it at my fingertips, but we'll make sure that gets denoted in the next budget report.
Okay.
So there's a few more items related to the budget.
You said you have a few more items?
Those, no.
Those are the items?
That's it.
Okay, sure. Okay. Then we can move on to Mr. Swanson.
Well, no current updates for me since our last meeting. Today is the first day that is eligible to plant trees under our shade tree program. So if anyone is brave enough to be out planting today, we may start seeing some of those rebates roll in. But otherwise, no updates for this meeting.
Okay, thank you. And buckthorn removal, Alan's not here, but Tom, maybe not much has been done yet either.
Correct, Madam Chair and members. No significant news for the Buckthorn report. The program still continues as it has. We did purchase, I think it's 5 more weed wrenches out of the Park and Recreation budget. We were a little bit short of the large ones. I think we have almost 20 of the small weed wrenches. And so now we're back up to about 10 of the large weed wrenches that are available for loan at the Recreation Center. And I continue to work with Ellen Van Cura on a few other aspects of the program, including some banners, posters, printing, door hangers. And I know we'll be getting together, the two of us, very shortly for another discussion.
Thank you. Utility bill stuffer from Mr. Swanson.
All right, well, I believe the last one I've already received a few calls in my office regarding that stuffer. I think it was well done. I think there were a few minor questions, but I'm not sure if it was due to wording on the form or just general questions about how the program works. So I would say that at least for my side with rebates, it was successful. And then for August, if we choose to move forward with another stuffer for that month, the due date would be the 7th of August, or preferably before that time. And I think maybe Tom would like to lead a discussion if we plan to do a second stuffer for that portion.
Well, Madam Chair and members, in your subdirectory there, you have a subdirectory in the computer called utility billing stuffers. If you want to open that, and then 2014, you actually have a copy of the 2-page stuffer that went out this past month to all the utility addresses, billing addresses. So that is what we did. It was the first page was information about our various programs, including the Big Tree Contest, Burr Oak Light, and then reimbursement programs. And the entire second page was, backside of it was devoted towards European buckthorn. I do have the exact cost of the April stuffing was $765. $765 to a local printer for, geez, I think it was almost 7,000 copies, 6,000 some copies that we make. It was rather expensive because of the one side, the buckthorn side we did in color. So one thing to think about, possibly budget-wise, looking back at our budget, I think we've kind of spent that amount of money. What did we have? We had $400 in 2014 budget, so we almost spent twice as much as that for the printing. So I don't know if, if you want to spend more money on another mailing. I certainly think that it warrants education and so on. There's a lot of great autumn tree issues that we could alert the public to. Let's see, when's our next meeting? We're May. Next meeting is right before the 4th of July. Is it July 3rd? So that would be, I think, the latest you could decide on doing an August mailing.
Do we want to put a subcommittee together to work on the mailer, the stuffer? Or do we want to just decide if we're going to move forward with it due to our budget?
Madam Chairman, I did have a question as to whether or not the two-sided is really good. How many people would see both sides, even though it's folded in the envelope, but as though that so much reading so that it might get to be, oh, won't read it then. It's too much reading. And if it costs more, that much more to have it on both sides, maybe we're more effective just to have less words and have it on one side, if that sounds reasonable.
Madam Chair and members, a little more information on that. If we do not have color ink, it significantly reduces the cost. I mean, it's just pennies.
Doesn't need to be in color.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it could be done for, I think, a few $100s. 6,000 copies of that. If it's simply black and white, you could do it on colored paper. That often doesn't cost any more than white paper.
Right.
So,
A light gold or something to, catch people's eye with black print. would be-
yeah, and I agree with Member Alwyn as far as maybe too much information might be hard for people to
Comprehend it all.
comprehend it all at once.
Yeah.
Those are just some thoughts I would have.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I agree with Floyd. I think once you get past this bush tree is bad, and we want to get rid of it, you don't really need to get into too much detail for people. Past a paragraph, they probably are lost. So one side, black and white, color stock, a couple $100 maybe. I think that's something we can live with. I sure wouldn't do the color. And I agree with Commissioner Allen about that.
Madam Chair and members, the flyer that went out, did it have a good picture of what Buckthorn looks like?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would advocate is that, if you, I did look at it previously here, so I answered my own question, but my point is that identification is so critical. That's the only advantage of color, in my view at least.
Madam Chair, I would suggest maybe a branch
That's a good idea.
picture and the tree picture. So split the pictures, keep it in black and white, make it easily identifiable, and move on.
Sure. Could I get a subcommittee to work on that August flyer then?
I'll go on.
Floyd, thank you. Anybody else? Scott or Wayne, are you able to help Floyd with that?
I would be available at some
Okay,
point, sure.
Sure, okay.
It'd be
So,
interesting to
Wayne
take a look at something.
and Floyd, thank you so much.
Sure.
Maybe you guys can just coordinate what works for
Sure.
you guys to
I'll
get
talk to
together.
Floyd.
Okay.
Maybe if we could have something to look at our July 3rd meeting,
Right
a
there.
draft or,
So the target is to send it out in August, is that what I heard?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so our
Have a
next
draft by the July.
July
3rd.
3rd meeting is.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
mhm.
I think we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Next item would be the big tree contest. It's due Monday, 6/16. Have we had anybody turn any applications in yet?
Madam Chair and members, I'm not certain about that. As you mentioned, the deadline is still out there a little bit. Mid-June, the 16th, at the Recreation Center, 6 PM. And I do not know if there's been any submissions yet.
Okay. And then we're gonna need somebody to be available that day, right? Or do you measure the next morning? Do you do it that evening?
It would be one or two or more commissioners
Okay.
and/or advisors or experts. I would recommend, shooting for Tuesday or Wednesday, June 17 or 18.
Is there anybody that would volunteer to measure the trees on June 17th in the morning?
Madam Chair, do you know how many, or Tom, how many applicants you usually have in years past, some of these?
Madam Chair, members, and Advisor Gugesberg, I would say we maybe 8 to 10, 12 max. It's not, normally it's not been more than that.
Mhm.
I'm
June
sure members,
17th.
may I inquire, what day of the week is the 17th?
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Is it Tuesday? Or maybe you mentioned that, I didn't catch it. Okay.
Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Mhm. Anybody available that morning, or do we want to send, want me to send out an email closer to the date?
Madam Chair and members, I would be available. What does it entail to measure a tree? Just eyeball it? I mean, that's obviously more than that. Or is it the circumference, or what are the,
Yeah,
It's a
4.5
diameter
feet out.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be interested in taking a shot at
Do it in
something.
the afternoon.
Yeah, I guess I would be.
Afternoon?
Afternoon.
Okay, so Wayne and Floyd again?
Super. Don't mind getting involved in something like that. It's be interesting.
Sounds good. Thank you. And then, any ideas for the type of tree for 2015? I think it's in your, the big tree contest would have the previous years. If you're unfamiliar, would have the previous years. 2010 was oak.
Yeah, I've got that someplace here.
2011 was maple.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then hackberry, and then elm, and then linden.
There you go. So we just would want to maybe throw some ideas out for 2015. Or bring ideas to the July 3rd meeting as well. Could do that. Should we plan on that? Bring in some ideas for the next meeting?
Good idea.
Okay. Next item would be the home show recap. And I can do some of that. Maybe Floyd can help as well. We had Friday and Sunday covered well, but I don't think we had anybody from Tree Advisory on Saturday that was available. But Ellen was there all 3 days,
Yeah, she was there all
the whole time too, so. It seemed like a younger crowd, a good response. Really, I thought it was a good show. I don't know how the numbers exactly turned out, but I think it was good. Floyd, what did you think when you were?
Oh, yeah, there's lots of people, that's for sure, and there's so many towns around Nome that were there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions about the home show? All right. So the next couple items, the EAB planning discussion, the forester position, and the tree survey. Possibly could be lumped into one. If we maybe talk about the letter I had sent out maybe a month ago to everybody. It was the information that we had from meeting with Mark Schnobrick and Tom and myself and Scott, as far as acquiring or funding a city forester position. Would this be appropriate time to move on to that? I think that kind of covers a lot of these things pertains to. So I sent the letter out. I heard back from Scott, but I didn't get any other responses, so I assumed it was good and everybody agreed with what was in the letter.
The letter was good.
So what is our goal as the Tree Advisory Commission for this process? Would be to establish a full-time forester position that will benefit the city by developing good public relations, educating citizens, having one go-to person for all programs and issues related to trees, searching out grant money, and overseeing current various city departments' tree work. So I think our next steps would be to put on paper a timeline that we would like to consider, and maybe what the framework is that we'll need to be meeting with department heads and city manager, and how to proceed that way. So we'll just open it up for discussion if anybody has any comments.
Madam Chair, and members and advisors, I'd like to thank you for the work that you've put into this, and it looks very good. I think a lot of what we're going to be talking about will center around budget conditions, and we need to make sure that when the city council knows that we are eventually going to approach them with this, that we have looked at all of the potential ways that this is going to play out, so we could have some scenarios for them. I think that knowing this is going to be a little bit of a process that's going to take a certain degree of time to bring to fruition. And, you may want this person on a consulting basis at first to do a couple of specific things, and then grow into it gradually. I think that's prudent. But it really will center around what we think that the budget and the city council will see as beneficial to the city, and will lessen the load for certain city departments with regards to tree planning and the various things that go into it. So I'd welcome anybody else's comments on that part of it, but I know a lot of it has to do with the money and how we present that, so.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
I mean, Madam Chair, do we need to set up a time frame for, putting up parts of this proposal, or,
I believe we do.
and how could we incrementally tackle those things?
I think we're under the assumption it's going to be too late for
This year.
this year's budget for the city, I assume. When do they do that? As far as budgeting for something like this, we would need to be looking at the 2016 calendar.
Well, Madam Chair and members, that might be a recommendation that I would have. Departments are working right now on next year's budget, the 2015 budget. And, you've had one subcommittee meeting. I would suggest that you schedule a second subcommittee meeting and involve some key staff, some key advisors, and do exactly as Commissioner Sparlin said, is start to figure out what can be done first, or what steps may be considered.
So you would recommend that we go to the utility director and the city manager first? Kind of what we had talked about. Go
Yeah,
to
Madam Chair and
That would
members,
be the
I
next
think that's,
subcommittee.
Possibly even with department heads and advisors first. I'm not quite positive about that, but I certainly say you know, a subcommittee task force meeting is something that you want to roll up your sleeves and kind of take the next step. You've prepared a single-page document as a starter, and I think if it's something the commission wants to pursue, I would recommend another task force work session,
Okay,
including key staff and advisors.
okay.
Madam Chair, I would volunteer to be on that task force, and yeah, I think it's prudent to meet with the city manager and a couple of department heads as well, and see what we can surmise from that meeting. And
Okay. Could we set a date for that now, since maybe we have quite a few people here? Is that possible?
it's a little tough with me, but could we set a couple of dates? Like an alternative, one with an alternative?
Or Madam Chair, members, you could consider something like a doodle poll or one of those free internet sites that
A doodle poll would be good.
that lets you kind of
Get everybody on the same page.
do a little schedule
Yeah, because we don't know
survey, schedule survey.
Mr. Gromitz's schedule, or, you know. So if we put something down that he can't be at, it's probably a good idea to do the doodle poll, Madam Chair.
Okay. Who should be included in this poll, just so that I know who to be contacting first? So, Mr. Gromitz, Tom?
You know, I think your staff advisors at the table here.
I agree,
Public
both of the
Works,
staff
Engineering,
advisors.
PUC, Park and Rec.
Who are we missing?
Well, Madam Chair and members, if I may also recommend Steve Suka from Electric Distribution on that list, as well as myself. I think those would be our two key members from the public utilities to
Great.
speak with.
Sounds good. Okay. Do we need to make a motion to move forward with this, or we've already done that because we're already moving forward with the process?
Madam Chair and members, I think you've already previously
Okay.
voted in the
Yeah,
past to
sure.
pursue the possibilities surrounding this topic.
Right.
Okay, well, I will take care of sending that out to all the pertinent people then.
Madam Chair, will you be doing the doodle poll then, or will Tom from his office, or who's in charge of the doodle poll?
I will.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Anything else? Just a note on the tree survey. We did talk with Mark Schnelberg when we were in the meeting with Scott and Tom and myself about Hutchinson's tree inventory and that process. But it's not included in this yet until maybe this gets moved forward. So we can move on to new business if there's no other old business. All right, so Boulevard tree discussion. Tony, you have some concerns from,
Yeah, thanks, Madam
Homeowners.
Chair and members. The reason I just wanted to bring this up is I've been approached by several different individuals on situations with their boulevard trees. You know, we have a approved list of trees that can be planted on the boulevard, but in their instance, they have trees that have been growing there for years, such as walnuts, that they would like to get rid of and plant a new tree because of the hazards involved with walnuts on a boulevard. For one, I've had individuals tell me the kids pick them up, throw them, they hit cars. You know, people walk the boulevards, the sidewalks, I should say, and, you know, they just said that they haven't been able to cut them down because it's a tree and it's growing, it's alive, and they would like to replace it. So I don't know what your thoughts are as far as, you know, allowing people to get rid of an undesirable tree and plant one that's more desirable. Because right now they have been told that they can't remove them, and I just, I mean, I see their point, because like I said, if you got a walnut on a boulevard, you wouldn't want to park underneath it, and there's other factors, like I said, just from kids walking along, to get stuck in lawnmowers. They're not a very pleasant tree to have on the boulevard, so I don't know what you think and what your thoughts are on that, about allowing people to remove them.
Let's see.
Anybody have any discussion on that?
In removing them, is that our expense then?
No, and good question. I mean, they would certainly take them down, they'd pay for it, everything. They just want to plant new trees, something that is more desirable for the boulevard,
So-
probably off the list. They just, they just got the walnuts when they purchased the property, but would, like to just replace them with something a little better. But as it stands right now, maybe Mr. Kaler, says that I believe that if the tree is healthy, and growing, even though it's undesirable on the tree species list, that right now they're supposed to keep it. So,
Madam Chair, I could comment on this matter. The city has an ordinance that requires a adjoining property owner to get a permit to remove or prune a tree above 13 feet in height, so you can take lower limbs off without a permit. But in order to remove it or prune it at a height above 13 feet, you have to come in for a permit. And there's the ordinance references the boulevard tree and shrub policy, which I have a copy of, and there's reasons for tree removal within that policy that was recommended for approval by this body several years ago and adopted by the city council. And those reasons include disease, dead or declining, structurally hazardous, undesirable species, insufficient growing space, planted without first obtaining a permit, threat to health and well-being of the public and or the urban forest. So the closest one to that is probably undesirable species. It's somewhat subjective in my opinion, and my guidance to my inspectors has been, if it's a healthy tree, I'm not gonna say it's an undesirable species just because it's not on the acceptable tree planting list. So that's kind of where we're at. If you would like to recommend tweaking this to, there's lots of people that would like to get rid of a tree, and this may be an example of a very good situation where they are going to plant one, but there are people that just want to get them out of the way. So we don't tend to allow that to happen just because they say it's messy. It just, to me, a healthy tree needs to stay where it's at if none of these other reasons if the criteria is not fulfilled. So that's the tack that we've been taking when we issue these permits. So if you want to recommend something else, we'd gladly take it to the city council and see if they would agree with it.
Madam Chair, I can weigh in on this as just one of the commissioners here, and members and advisors. It's a slippery slope, and I understand about singling out black walnuts. I'm not, I'm a big evergreen guy, and black walnuts, take care of evergreens pretty quick. But what's next? Is it basswood? Is it, what species becomes the new nuisance or undesirable? You see what I'm saying? And I know that that's that way, but I feel, as Advisor Kaler said, that it might open up a big can of worms, and then you got a case-by-case basis study that you've got to do and find out if this tree is really acceptable as an undesirable species, and it goes on and on and on and on, and it gets into a big controversial thing, and the next thing you know, we've got letters in the paper to the editor, and I think the current policy should stay where it is, and I think that it covers most of the things that the Tree Advisory Commission put down before the city council prior to this, and I would be in favor of keeping things the way they are.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm just wondering, because like I said, how many would agree that a walnut is not a very desirable tree to have on the boulevard? I mean, I think one individual, there's two different individuals that had this situation. I think one has probably come up and said, he's got the policy, and it said on there undesirable tree, nuisance, stuff like that. So he thought for sure that because of the walnuts, being a hazard, hitting cars and stuff like that, and he was willing to replace them with some new trees that would qualify, and he got denied, so, I don't know, but, where do you draw the line, as far as what trees to keep? I mean, obviously, like lindens and basswoods, we have them on our list of approved trees. We have a list of trees that we approve. If somebody came with a mulberry tree on their boulevard, it probably wouldn't be a very desirable tree. I mean, they make a very big mess for those who know of mulberries, so it'd be one of those situations, I would say, if you want to plant a new tree, do it, but that's just my feeling.
Floyd or Wayne, any thoughts? So I would assume we're all in agreement just to leave it as is, how it was for now? Okay. Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have anything? All right, so our next meeting would be July 3rd, 4 o'clock here. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Just excuse me.
Sure.
Madam Chairman, I just had a question. Would this commission have anything to do in the way of suggesting or promoting the replacements of the trees that Shell's lost on their bike trail? Can we promote that or suggest? Is there anything that can be done, or is it all up to Shell's just as such? Because there are a lot of them that are missing. So is there anything we can do or say?
Well, Madam Chair and members, I'll just chime in briefly here, and that is, there's always opportunity for more donations, further donations from individuals, organizations, businesses, for tree planting throughout the community. And there's plenty of linear feet, there are plenty of areas on the bike trail that, could still use some shade trees and so on. So I think it's just kind of a matter of funding and then preparing a plan to move forward and plant appropriate species in appropriate soils and locations.
If we need to promote that, or is it up to Shell's to promote it? Anyway, that's just a question I had.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
I guess one quick thing for Tom, maybe. The $6,100 for the tree plantings, have those been decided upon where the
Yeah.
various trees and things are going, in which parks or wherever it may be?
Yeah.
That's been decided upon?
Madam Chair and members, that final plan is almost complete,
Okay,
and then we'll be going out for bids
okay,
and quotes to move forward with that.
okay,
I think it's going to be combined with a Park and Rec fund also
okay,
of possibly $10,000 out of the Park and Recreation budget, combined with that $6,100 for some tree planting in park areas.
okay. Thank you. Anybody else have anything? We had a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I have a second.
You'll second? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.